Welcome to the wonder of Britain, where I'm celebrating everything that I think puts the great into Great Britain. And this week, I'm exploring Britain's incredible industrial revolution. I've chosen the amazing sparks of invention that transformed Britain into a world leader. Like the revolution in the way we travelled. This was, in its day, the largest ship on the planet. Hello, Bristol. The way we worked.
Oh, the prospect of coming back here morning after morning, it must have been heartbreaking, to be honest.
And the way we played.
Woo! And it all kicked off here.
This is our industrial story. I went to school right here in Sheffield, one of Britain's great industrial cities. If I'd been standing here 250 years ago, I'd be looking out at rolling fields stretching on as far as the eye can see. Back then, Britain was a rural economy. There were no roads to speak of, no cars, no trains. People lived in small communities and interaction with the outside world was rare. But then something happened. A spark ignited that fueled a revolution, one that would change our landscape and our culture forever. And it all began here, with a metal structure that revolutionised the world. This is Iron Bridge, famous for the stunning cast iron bridge, built in 1779 and cast from iron that was smelted right here, the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. But the truth is, there is no one single birthplace. However, there is a substance without which the revolution would never have taken place. My first wonder is a little black rock. Coal was the power for spectacular change. But it also built entire communities, like here in beautiful West Yorkshire. About 10% of all the coal ever mined in Britain came from out of the ground around here. So why was coal so important to the Industrial Revolution? And what was it like to spend your entire working life underground? Today, the Cap House Colliery near Wakefield is the National Mining Museum. But before its closure in 1985, it operated continuously for 2 centuries, producing over 22 million tonnes of coal.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much. What's that?
I'll have that again when you get out.
If I get out.
Aye, good luck.
Thank you.
Go on, Julia.
Oh, there we go.
I can still experience what life was like for those who carved out a living at the start of the Industrial Revolution, 460 feet underground.
That's the same height as Blackpool Tower, in the wrong direction.
My guide is ex-miner Jerry Starkey.
Off we go then.
As a 4th-generation miner, he spent nearly 40 years down here.
Ceilings aren't too low yet, Jerry. It's all quite palatial.
Although the conditions Jerry worked in are a far cry from the ones faced by the early miners.
Wait till we get onto coal face. I'll show you how low it's going to be. There we go.
Is that where we're going?
That's where we're going. This is how it used to be.
Lit only by candlelight, they worked in spaces less than 2 feet high.
Right, here we go. Oh.
Now this is what we call pillar and stall working, Julia.
God, how long's this guy been down here?
Oh, he's been here a while. Right, I'm up front, so I'm going to dig all coal out.
Right, so that's you, that's Dad.
That's me, yep. Digging it out.
Yep.
Putting it into this, what they call a corf.
A corf?
A corf.
And then you hand that to Mum.
Yeah, you're now going to drag it out of this tunnel.
Yeah.
And then to pit bottom.
Until 1842, when the practice was outlawed, mining was very much a family affair. Children as young as 6 worked down the mine.
All he's doing is he'll open and close what we call a ventilation door. But it's just trying to maintain as much fresh air for his mum and dad as possible.
Right.
Problem is, he's sat out there with no light.
So he's sitting in the dark?
Total pitch black, yeah. He wasn't earning no money. So it wasn't worth no. It wasn't worth a light.
This was backbreaking work, with every miner producing about 20,000 tonnes of coal in their lifetime. By the end of the Industrial Revolution, nearly 300,000 people made their living in the cramped, treacherous conditions. Gas explosions, tunnels collapsing, and flooding were all commonplace. The pumps here and at the Hope Pit next door still pump out up to 15 million gallons of water a week.
Lay down.
I'm down.
On your side.
Oh, hang on a minute. You can't get any swing.
No, you don't need to.
Oh, OK.
OK. Yeah, well.
It just flies in your face.
Yeah. You're not supposed to chew it.
Well, I didn't mean to chew it. And how long would you do this for?
For about 8 hours.
8 hours?
Maybe 10 hours. Until you earned enough money, because you were paid on the amount of coal that you got out.
Britain's coalfields stretched from Bristol to the Clyde, providing the power that fueled the Industrial Revolution. The real heroes of the age were those who risked everything down here in the dark.
You can't really describe the conditions. I mean, it's cold, it's airless, it's dirty, it's dangerous. And if you were here all day, you would be just utterly exhausted at the end of every single day. And the prospect of coming back here morning after morning, it must have been heartbreaking, to be honest. It really must have been. Knowing that this is what you were going to do for the next 20, 30, 40 years. This was your livelihood. Proper work, backbreaking in every way. All for this, the black, shiny rock. I'm good because I can go home now.
Coal is still one of Britain's primary energy sources. It produces around 1/3 of our electricity. But its role supporting vast mining communities is now a thing of the past. By the end of 2015, there will be just one working deep pit mine left in the country.
We import everything else, so our old pits are just a ghostly reminder of a once thriving industry. Another chapter in our story of invention is our canal network. Today we think of them as sleepy backwaters, but actually they were our first motorways, and they gave rise to incredible feats of engineering that still amaze. At the height of the Industrial Revolution, there were nearly 4,000 miles of canals stretching right across the country. They were created to provide a quicker and more efficient way of transporting goods and commodities. You see, a canal boat could carry more than 10 times the load of a horse and cart, nearly 30 tonnes of materials. My next wonder was a vital piece of the network linking North Wales to England. I've chosen it for its sheer scale and jaw-dropping beauty. For me, the Pontcysyllte Aqueduct is in a league of its own. Opened in 1805, the Pontcysyllte Aqueduct is the longest of Britain's 370 aqueducts. It proudly joined a canal network that consisted of 3,000 bridges, 1,500 locks and over 50 tunnels. But this was the jewel in the crown, and it's not for the faint-hearted.
This is a 1,000-foot span of cast iron and stone, and it's holding me, this narrow boat, and over 1.5 million litres of water, 126 feet above the River Dee, which is down there. Look at that. No safety barrier. You don't get this view many places.
At the time, this was one of Britain's most ambitious and innovative civil engineering challenges. The techniques and ideas developed here would help shape the world. The man responsible was the godfather of civil engineering, Thomas Telford. Telford boldly said that he intended to build an aqueduct of iron upon a principle entirely new.
That was the house that Thomas Telford lived in, with the red door, literally watching over his work.
I want to find out why Telford came up with such an audacious plan in such a breathtakingly beautiful place.
Just take a look that way. Oh, and then just take a look the other way. There's lovely sea.
Telford had never worked on canals before, and he had an incredibly challenging landscape to deal with. Basically, what they had to do was cross the valley somehow. They thought about building a stone aqueduct, but there were all sorts of problems with building with masonry across such a span. And it's like an enormous cast iron flying bathtub that sort of floats above the River Dee.
Here comes another boat. 15,000, 20,000 boats a year pass across this aqueduct.
That's right, yeah.
This giant cast iron bathtub is a work of genius. There are 18 panels that have all been bolted together with massive bolts like this. The joints have been sealed up with a mixture of flannel and lead dipped in sugar. And there's even a plug, so the trough can be drained and maintained. I am desperate to pull the plug on this baby.
If the aqueduct is impressive and a little nerve-wracking from the top, it's down amongst its 19 pillars that you get a real sense of its scale.
Mostly, I'm okay with heights. So I was all right up there. The weird thing is, down here, I feel a bit queasy looking up, seeing the clouds floating above me. How many men would have been working on this project in any one go?
Over 200 men were working on it. Only one man died.
That is the incredible statistic for me. Look at this, look at the size of this project. It was incredibly dangerous, skilled work.
Telford was worried about them being giddy with the height, and so he wanted the piers to be made a bit wider so that they wouldn't feel so frightened.
Oh, what a lovely man.
What a lovely man, yeah.
The masonry pillars are held together with a mortar made of lime, water and ox blood. But they're as sturdy today as the day they were built.
This aqueduct is utterly perfect. Built more than 200 years ago. It took less than 10 years to build. And these pillars are still dead straight. And in today's money, it cost about £3 million. The Millennium Bridge, finished in June 2000, cost £18 million.
When it opened, it was the highest and longest cast iron aqueduct in the world. And it still is. Now horse-drawn canal boats could cross easily from England to North Wales, transforming this part of northern Britain forever. Telford would go on to complete many other impressive feats. The Menai Suspension Bridge, which joins Anglesey to mainland Wales. A Neptune staircase. An 8-stage staircase lock on the Caledonian Canal near Fort William. But I think this was his masterpiece, a true wonder of Britain, and recently awarded World Heritage status.
I think Telford knew that he'd built something very, very special, but whether he knew that he would be the same designation as the pyramids and the Taj Mahal, I shouldn't think so.
For the next chapter of our industrial story, I want to focus on the invention that drove the Industrial Revolution into a higher gear. This is a replica of the world's first steam locomotive, built by mining engineer Richard Trevithick. When on February the 21st, 1804, it made the world's first railway journey, Britain's age of steam had arrived.
The steam engine was one of the most significant technologies of the Industrial Revolution. A single locomotive could shift up to 600 tons, something that had never been seen before anywhere in the world. My next wonder then is the steam railway. Off we go, Peter.
The Midhants Railway is better known as the Watercress Line. As one of Britain's finest heritage lines, it's the perfect window into how the steam railway transformed the country. Opened in 1865, it connected rural Hampshire to the heart of London. It got its name from the fresh, locally grown watercress that it carried to the city.
You don't get closer to huge power than you do with a steam engine. If you're on the footbrake, you can feel it coming up through the soles of your boots, and it's fantastic. When you open the firehole door, the heat hits you like a fist in the face. It's absolutely white hot.
Today, steam trains may be the preserve of the enthusiast. But during the Industrial Revolution, they built Britain an empire.
If we looked at a map, when British railways were built, what we would see is some great nodes emerging with a lot of trunk lines converging on places like London, big railway hubs developing at places like Crewe and Ashford and Doncaster, and we'd see lots of lines converging on the port cities as our exports were sent for shipment overseas to the Empire.
The railways linked up the country. Now fresh, perishable foods could be transported far and wide.
It made it possible to move around not just bulky, durable stuff like coal and minerals, but you could get milk up from Devon, you could get cattle in from Ireland, and so the quality of life improved because of the freshness of the food that the railways put on people's tables.
But the age of steam gave us more than fast food. It left Britain with a legacy of stunning architecture, engineering and design. Like our Victorian mainline stations. Next time you're in one, look up. You'll see that British railways were built on a very grand scale indeed.
It's no accident if you look at the architecture of 19th century stations, they are incredibly grand. They are like cathedrals, cathedrals of science and engineering. British engineers, the visionaries, they did not see engineering in terms of driving down cost. They recognised that it enabled the creation of a work of art, but it was a work of art not on a canvas, but actually in brick and stone, in iron.
For me, there was no greater engineering artist than Isambard Kingdom Brunel. He had this incredible idea. You could buy a ticket here at Paddington in London, get on board his Great Western Railway, travel over his bridges, through his tunnels, and then arrive at another creation, Templemead Station in Bristol. And then in Bristol, you could board his steamship and sail all the way to New York. What a groundbreaking, precise vision.
Genius. Afternoon, Izzy. In our invention story, it's the engineers and the scientists who were the rock stars of their day. Stephenson, Telford, Bazalgette were all popular heroes who helped build Britain. But there's one name that stands out above all others. He was an engineering god at the centre of transforming Britain from a nation of farmers into an industrial superpower. His name was Isambard Kingdom Brunel. From the bridges he built at Clifton and over the Tamar, to his Great Western Railway with its stations at Paddington and Bristol Temple Meads. I think it's impossible to overstate Brunel's impact on our industrial story. So deciding which of his many achievements to focus on is a bit of a daunting task. But this monster was a revolution. The SS Great Britain, a world first, and in its day, the largest ship on the planet. I think the trick here is not to look down. That's the tactic I'm going for. Oh, dear me. Right. Oh. Hello, Bristol. It is quite scary up here, and we are in a dock, not moving. It must be absolutely petrifying to be working on a rig like this out there in the open seas. And imagine all those centuries ago, no safety, no harnesses, just dangling off all of this. From up here, as beautiful as she looks, the SS Great Britain doesn't really look that innovative. Rigging, mast, wooden deck, all pretty standard stuff for a 19th century ship. Her real genius lies down there, beneath the waterline. This is it, Brunel's first iron-hulled ship. It was 100 feet longer and 1,000 tons heavier than anything that had come before it. It was the first modern ship, a true revolution. Launched in 1843, the SS Great Britain was a leap into the unknown. Although iron ships were not new, they were still in their infancy. People just couldn't understand how one this size would stay afloat. In fact, iron ships were lighter than their wooden counterparts, which meant they could be built bigger and stronger. And they needed to be. A steamship this size needed vast reserves of coal to power her. Traditionally driven by paddles on the sides, Brunel did something very different. He added this innovative propeller. And in doing so, he revolutionized sea travel. The SS Great Britain has since become the model for nearly all modern ships. Someone described it as the greatest experiment since the creation. Brunel built the Great Britain to open up a lucrative transatlantic route. But accidents and mismanagement meant in 1852 she was refitted and repurposed for a much more hazardous trip. One that would take her 700 passengers nearly 70 days to complete. The SS Great Britain would now carry emigrants to the brave new world of Australia. It was a long and arduous journey for the hundreds crammed into steerage. So it's all very snug. You've got to mind your head. I mean, I'm 5'9". Dave, the cameraman, is 6'7". Watch your head, Dave, Beam. He would really struggle in here. Nice comfy bed. Right, let's try and get up here. There we go. That's not too bad. These would have been here, so you've got to mind your head on the beams. And that's it. Imagine months and months
living like this with hundreds of people.
Teenage passenger Alan Gilmore recorded his trip in his diary.
We then got the remainder of our luggage stowed in our berths, which are pretty well ventilated, but very confined and dark. The stateroom, as it's called, allotted to us, holds 4, viz. Father, brother Matthew, Robert Gow and myself. The distance between our berths for the purposes of dressing is 2 feet broad and 6 feet long, so confined that only one can dress at once. And even in this small space, we have to build part of our luggage. Well, presumably he means that they had to build and stack all of their cases around them to create room. Oh. How well would you sleep? I guess needs must.
The trip to Australia was non-stop, so everything that was needed had to be stored on board.
This is the pantry, all stocked up, beef broth, leek and potato, mock turtle. And these are the ship's biscuits, apparently like mahogany. And that would have been teeming with weevils, little grubs. Preservation of food was a real issue on board. Lots of salt was used, no fridges.
Despite the hardships, the SS Great Britain was a technological wonder. Powered by this huge steam engine, the constant clanging and banging provided the soundtrack to the voyage.
This really was Brunel's mechanical magic.
Absolutely. This is his engineering marvel. And in 1845, when this engine is in place, it is really at the pinnacle of maritime technology.
Nothing like this had been done before.
No, and it is the heart of the ship. You have to imagine it would have been an unbearable environment to be in. Actually, the firemen that would have loaded the coal onto the engine could only stay for 4 hours at a time. So very, very hot, very, very loud.
The SS Great Britain made 32 round trips to Australia before she ran aground in 1886 and was scrapped. Rescued and restored, today she rests in her original Bristol dry dock. A permanent memorial to Brunel and his ship that changed history.
You can't imagine all the stories. 1 million miles and 32 times around the world. That's amazing. Victorian engineers like Brunel were obsessed with not only building bigger, but also more beautiful. Art, science and innovation all went hand in hand to create these objects of national pride. Look at the name of this ship, SS Great Britain. What an advert. And this sense of civic pride had an impact on everything.
As the economy grew, industrial towns and cities swelled in size and pride. This growing confidence was reflected in ever more elaborate structures. Now, from London to Leeds, curious municipal buildings started popping up as cities competed to build the poshest and fanciest town halls imaginable. My personal favourite stands in the centre of one of our greatest industrial cities.
The reason it's so gorgeous and not just a plain office is because Manchester was making a statement. This building reflects a lot of civic pride. It says, we're here, we've arrived, we're on the stage.
There's no denying the building is impressive from the outside. But as you enter, you get a real sense of the statement the architect Alfred Waterhouse was making. Greeting you in the entranceway are 2 local scientists, John Dalton and James Joule. But the building doesn't just celebrate the big names. With Manchester one of the main centres of the cotton trade, Lancashire's 560 cotton mills employed over 110,000 people. On the so-called Bees Landing, the workers of Manchester are celebrated with these beautiful bumbles.
But the significance is the idea of Manchester was a buzzing hive of industry and people worked very hard, and you kind of think of the people in the city as perhaps the little worker bees at the height of the Industrial Revolution.
But you get the clearest picture of the building's intentions in the Great Hall. Here, paintings celebrate Manchester's long history, including significant events in the Industrial Revolution, like the opening of the Bridgewater Canal. And looking up reveals this stunning ceiling, each panel representing Manchester's trading links from just down the road to the other side of the world.
The ceiling is a celebration of Manchester's commercialism, inventiveness, our ability to kind of just say, you know what, I don't care if that country's on the other side of the world, we'll go there, we'll do it.
Despite its beauty, there's an irony to this building. During the Industrial Revolution, this was a magnificent place packed with dignitaries. But it stood just yards from one of Manchester's most notorious slums.
You have a contrast between the very opulent and the very grand and the celebratory through to, absolute squalor and dirt. And at the time, a lot of the craftsmen who would have worked here, who would have helped build the building, they possibly never came into it after it was built. Today, we would embrace everybody and say, you must come into this building, you've created it, look how wonderful it is.
The stark contrast between the grandeur of Manchester's town hall and the squalor of its slums pretty much defines the Industrial Revolution. The rich got richer, the poor did all the work.
But it wasn't all grime, misery and poverty. One of the great byproducts of the Industrial Revolution was a change in attitude towards social welfare. So coming up, I discover that not all textile mills were the same. I lend a hand restoring one of our great industrial icons of fun.
The tower. Oh, that looks like a nice bit there.
Before returning to Sheffield to experience a legacy of the Industrial Revolution that's a national obsession.
And today, it's match day.
I've been travelling the country, exploring the great inventions of the Industrial Age. Among our greatest assets were the millions of ordinary people who worked long hours in often dangerous and filthy conditions, like those who toiled in the giant textile mills. Marvels of technology blighted by a brutal reputation for tough, hazardous work. But my next wonder is an exception. I've chosen it because it helped reinvent social welfare for the working classes. Deep in rural South Lanarkshire is the village of New Lanark, a cotton mill with a difference. Founded in 1786, the mill was powered by the River Clyde. The rural location must have been a breath of fresh air for its 2,000 workers, many of whom hailed from the poorhouses of Glasgow and Edinburgh. Inside the vast mill blocks, the giant spinning frames worked dawn till dusk spinning cotton, making New Lanark one of the largest industrial centres in the world.
At the height, enough cotton was spun here to go around the world 2.5 times.
But what makes it so special is the vision of its pioneering manager, Robert Owen. He had the idea of turning a factory town into a model community. And he did it by transforming working and living conditions and opening the world's first free nursery school.
Owen obviously ran a profitable enterprise here, but he was very, very concerned about the working people's welfare and wanted to ensure that although perhaps they had a hard-working life in the mills, that they had good homes to live in, that they had access to medical care.
1, 2, 3, begin. 1, 2.
And he had a real belief that the working classes had a right to an education, and the school was part of his vision. They would come to school from the age of 3 until the age of 10, because Robert Owen banned all children under 10 working in his mills here.
1, 2, 3, 4, and back. 2, 3, 4.
After 200 years of continuous operation, the mill closed in 1968. 4 generations of David Dunlop's family worked at the mill. They all lived in this tenement block on Waterrose Street. Today, the building is just as it was the day David left.
This is the house I was born in, 1939. Oh, it brings back happy memories, all this place. Yeah. Now, I get washed in that sink up till I was about 4 or 5 years old. You stood, my gran or my mother washed me. Then you were taken out, and that was that. That was you washed, ready to go to bed.
Life revolved around the mill's working day.
When the mill came out at 12:15, everyone was on the table. You had a big bowl in the middle for the potatoes. And then the bell rung at 10 to 1 for 5 minutes. And then they went away back to work. And then they come back, I think it was about 5 o'clock at night or something like that. And then the table was set again for their tea, and that's how it was. That's my granny. That's me. I don't think it was a year old then. That's my granny. A wee bit young there. Happy memories. And it makes me fill up a wee bit. Because as I told you before, I'm the last one to be born here.
Our industrial story so far has focused on the engineering feats that powered the nation. But during that era, everything changed, including how we had fun. As the railway network expanded, so seaside resorts flourished. From south to north, day trippers and holidaymakers were lured to the beach by a range of exciting new innovations. Like the Seaside Pier, a fun palace packed with amusements that sticks out into the sea. Or great feats of engineering designed to get the holidaymakers down to the beach, like the cliff lift here at Saltburn by the sea. Today, the oldest water balance lift still in operation. But my next wonder tops them all by taking all the best bits and combining them. A giant steel tower of fun. It's Blackpool Tower. When Blackpool Tower opened on May the 14th, 1894, it was the tallest building in Britain. Modelled on the Eiffel Tower, it had taken 3 years to plan and construct. Using 5 million bricks and nearly 2,500 tons of steel. This huge tower changed the landscape of Blackpool forever. On a clear day, it can be seen from the Lake District in North Wales. But ever since it opened, the steel framework has been under attack from salty sea air. Dave Hume is the man charged with keeping the rust at bay.
All I can tell you is it's going to be a long time if this is how you're doing the job.
Well, this is how we used to do it. If you look at the paint, you can see it like it's just like looking at a tree, all the different layers,
Look at that.
the colours over the years. So where it's started to go at the edges like that, it's necessary for us to take it right back to the bare metal so we can put a modern paint system on and it's going to protect the tower for the next 10, 15 years before it needs looking at again.
Can I have a go to say that I've actually done this?
Yeah, just
with Blackpool Tower?
don't hit it too hard.
So I'll start with a little bit
That's
here.
it, yeah. If you hit it on the edge, it'll come
There
off.
we go. Look
That's
at that. Chipping away at Blackpool
I'll go
Tower.
around it up there,
Oh,
that's
that
it.
looks
Yeah,
like a
you
nice...
get a good
Oh,
bit there.
yes, that's very satisfying. But I must say I'd probably be bored after about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
With 520 feet to cover, this would take me a lifetime. Fortunately, Dave has something a little more 21st century up his sleeve.
Blimey!
Well, it's certainly powerful.
So that is what you call a proper exfoliation.
That's it,
isn't
yeah,
it?
that's done. That's back to the bare metal now.
And it's steaming a bit, so it's hot.
Yeah, the water's hot because it's under pressure as it comes out, so it's actually warm and not hot as it comes out, yeah. But we've got a little bit of a demonstration to show you so you can see how powerful it is.
OK, all right, let's step back. That is crazy!
When it opened, it was more than just a tower. It had a ballroom, an aquarium, roof gardens, and even a circus full of animals. But I think the real thrill is simply riding the express lift. Just 69 seconds from bottom to top.
To me, this stands as testament to the age of invention. It's a symbol of Victorian entrepreneurship, and it's a place that I've always wanted to experience from the very top. My final wonder in our invention story was a gift not just for Britain, but for the world. When the Factory Act of 1847 restricted workers' hours, it meant the masses now had time to watch and participate in sport. They also took advantage of the ever-expanding railway network, travelling from city to city. Organised sport began to flourish. Add to that the Victorian obsession with rules and regulations, and you find out that nearly every major sport originated and was codified here in Britain. So whether you're an Andy Murray, a Wayne Rooney or an Alistair Cook fan, it's all down to those clever Victorians.
But there's one sport that stands head and shoulders above all others. As every week, hundreds of thousands attend matches, millions more tune in around the world. Our beautiful game is an international obsession.
Program! Right there, program! Come on! Program!
I'll let you into a little secret. I don't really follow football. Tennis is my thing. But I am very proud of the fact that the town I grew up in is home to the world's first ever football club, Sheffield FC. And they played right here in Bramall Lane, which of course is now home to Sheffield United. And today, it's match day. Just over 150 years ago, December the 29th, 1862, Sheffield FC stepped out onto the field here at Bramall Lane for the first time. It was a less than thrilling match. It was a 0-0 draw with Hallam FC, but it was the stadium's inaugural football match. And ever since then, this stadium and thousands of others across the world, from Brazil to Beijing, have sparked into life on match day. Football is the sport that is watched by billions. And it all kicked off here. Being here, you realise why this is such a crazily addictive sport. You can feel and hear the animalistic passion that's in the air. And isn't it great that alongside our railways, our canals, our town halls and our great ships, this is a part of our invention story. A true wonder of Britain.